Oscar Guy here. So we are currently in what I call the late season limbo of the 2022-2023 Film Awards season. Oscar nominations and Guild nominations have all been announced, but we're gonna have to wait at least a couple more weeks until these ceremonies actually kick off and winners are finally announced. So what am I gonna do? Just sit here and twiddle whatever you think I'm twiddling? No! It's time for this month's Review Roundup, where I catch up on this season's films that I had yet to watch and review so you can hear where I stand on them. Before we get started, here is a list of all of the films that I just did not get a chance to see. Maybe I'll try to see some of these before Oscar night, but no guarantees, y'all. I'm a new boy, so paying for these movies out of pocket, what's a screener, right? First off, way back in the summer of 2022, I saw a little movie called Nope. This film and Tar were my two most anticipated movies of the year. I'm a big fan of Jordan Peele's output, and the trailer for this had me hyped up beyond belief. I've seen it twice since, and yeah, it's pretty great. Look, I understand it's not quite what people were expecting and turned into something a little more grounded and whimsical in a way that just kind of threw some people off, I guess. But I think it is still an amazing, hilarious, unsettling, layered, and spectacular piece of filmmaking regardless. It's arguably Peele's most ambitious film to date, and the multiple layers and puzzle pieces don't seem to fit at first, and he doesn't make it incredibly clear or significant as, say, his other two films, but upon some further analysis, you can definitely see what the film is trying to say under the surface. Also, it is an absolute crime that the cinematography and sound design in this film did not get its due from the Academy. Hoyt van Hoytema's IMAX camera work here is just simply stellar. No noms anywhere? Really, Academy? Come on. But I digress. Nope is a great movie. Watch it on the biggest screen you can. Stephen Yeun. I'm going to give Nope a solid 4.25 out of 5. Next, I'd like to talk about RRR. I know it took me a while to finally get in there and do my part in this global sensation of a film, and you know what? It's a pretty damn good time. Yes, it is certainly the most over-the-top movie I've seen in quite a while, unapologetically so, and I usually don't go out of my way to see these types of movies, but this, are you seeing this right now? It's impeccably directed, the production values and effects are through the roof, it's campy, self-aware, emotional, musical, just all. Honestly, it's probably the most fun I've had watching a movie this year, and that's all I gotta really say about it. Watch it with some of your closest friends for a guaranteed good time. We all know that India decided not to submit this to the Academy for International Feature, which they honestly had a shot to win, but at least the song Not To is most likely winning original song, so that'll be their big moment at the ceremony, and I am honestly all for it. I am going to give RRR a solid 4 out of 5. Next up, I'd like to talk about Aftersun. Dude, what a beautiful piece of delicate, melancholic visual storytelling this is. I don't want to talk too much about it, but the story here is cleverly told through a series of memories recalled by an older version of a girl named Sophie, who reflects on a father-daughter holiday that they took when she was 11. It carefully explores themes of coming of age, early fatherhood, and coming to terms with what you remember about your parents and the image that they projected at the time versus who they actually were or who they were trying to be. It's powerful, heart-shattering, understated, and contemplative. The direction and presentation here is stellar as well, with this being Charlotte Wells' feature debut, which is unreal, dude. I mean, the shot in the hotel room with the camera and the reflections of the TV and the blocking, how did she do that? I have yet to rewatch this one, and I can almost guarantee that it will get better with every watch and as each year passes. It's a simple yet deeply layered work of art that I just cannot recommend enough. I am going to give Aftersun a strong 4.5 out of 5. Next up, I saw, The Whale. Now, I know I've been hyping up Brendan Fraser's performance and comeback in a lot of my videos quite a bit this season without even seeing the movie yet and just kind of taking people's word for it and kind of making a meme out of it. Sorry, Brendan. And it had been on my list for way too long, citing that I just wanted to be emotionally prepared for it before diving in. Well, guess what? You can't be. you won't be. But I finally went and saw it in theaters, and yep, I have a lot to say about it. First of all, I am going to paraphrase something that was said by one of my favorite film YouTubers, Carson Runquist, shout out to him, and ask you to just imagine, if you will, Fraser's performance in The Whale, and just gauge for yourself how good he is. Okay, you got it? Good? Alright, cool. He's better than that. He is even better than you think he is in this film. Brendan Fraser is just simply outstanding here. I mean, he is working on another plane of acting entirely. Just the sheer vulnerability and physicality of his portrayal of Charlie, subtle or not, is just earth-shattering and heartbreaking. And you can't help but just feel for this guy and the bottomless empathy and pain he simultaneously wrestles with. It is truly spectacular. With that being said, Fraser is easily the best part about this movie. And you know, that's not to say that the supporting performances by Hong Chow, Sadie Sink, Ty Simpkins, and especially Samantha Morton, who is fantastic, are all outstanding too. The screenplay, I must admit, did not entirely work for me. I'm not sure how true to the source material this is, but it does definitely feel like it works much better as a stage play than an actual feature film. Hell, I even think this could have been much better as a short film. Look, I get that we are to be brought aware of the trials and tribulations of Charlie's day in the life, and sure, it does perhaps bring awareness to how devastating morbid obesity can be, especially in combination with mental health struggles and familial trauma. But man, it can be really hard to watch this movie, especially since there are some scenes that I think could have been cut, as there are some lulls in the story as well along the way too. But I will say that the incredibly emotional and cathartic ending does make it worthwhile in my opinion. I mean, it really worked for me. It really is an emotional knockout punch that Aronofsky gives you. Aronofsky, why? Why do you do this to us? Who hurt you, dude? Anyway, it's certainly not a perfect film, but it is an important and mostly necessary one, and definitely worth seeing just for Fraser's game-changing performance alone. Easily one of the greatest career comeback performances that I can personally think of. I'm going to give The Whale a decent 3.75 out of 5. Next up, I'd like to talk about, well, women talking. Man listening. I'm here all night, folks. This is officially the last 2022 film I saw in theaters as the award season is wrapping up, and man, what a bang to go off on, huh? This movie is great. Probably the sharpest, most well-crafted screenplay of the year, just behind Banshees, or maybe even tied, honestly. An ensemble performance that is seriously as strong as it gets. I mean, it's almost a singular consciousness of a performance that it actually does kind of make sense that the ensemble itself has been getting the most awards attention, and not the individual performances, although I would have loved to see more people single out Jessie Buckley's fantastic performance. I mean, at least Critics' Choice did. And man, why didn't this one catch on more, y'all? I mean, yeah, I'm super stoked that the film still managed to get a Best Picture nom, but I think it deserved a bit better. And Hildur Guðnadóttir's score, I mean, you gotta be kidding me, bro. Between this score, and the Batman score, and the Pinocchio score, all getting snubbed? I mean, makes me want to go fight some bimbos like Claire Foy did, you know what I mean? Anyway, it might be a tough watch at some points, but it is indeed a powerful one that leaves you on a surprisingly optimistic note. Teachers, show this film in your classrooms pronto, please. I'm going to give Women Talking a strong 4 out of 5. Next up, I finally watched Top Gun Maverick. Yep, believe it or not, this was one of the last films on my list to finally check out. No, I didn't see it in theaters, wish I did. No, I didn't have any personal desire to watch it, despite what people have been saying about it. No, I have not even seen the first one and relied on others to get me up to speed regarding the Top Gun mythos. Yes, I procrastinated about seeing it up until now, and you know what? Hats off. Hats off. This was good. It was a good time. Objectively speaking, this film is definitely on another level in terms of technical achievement, spectacle, and just overall well-crafted fun, camaraderie, and nostalgia for 80s and 90s action flicks that we just don't really get anymore. With that said, who were they even fighting? What was even the point of their mission? Couldn't tell you. and I don't think that's good. I guess the point of it is that whatever it is they're doing up there, fighter pilots are badass, the end. So there's just not a lot to chew on, and there's no really substance there for me, but you know, I get it. Regardless, I do appreciate the sincere effort to deliver a nevertheless highly entertaining movie. My favorite part was definitely Tom Cruise doing that freaking run through the woods. Holy crap, that made me cackle like an idiot. I'm going to give Top Gun Maverick a decent 4 out of 5. After that, I watched a little movie called To Leslie. Yep, I'm circling back on this one just as much as anyone else did because of, well, you know why. Yeah, that happened. I mean, we gotta see what her performance is all about. Now, I'm not going to get into the details of how this campaign, or lack thereof, managed to secure a Best Actress nom in arguably the most crowded category of the year. Pour one out to Danielle Deadwyler and Viola Davis, please. But I gotta say, Andrea Riseborough and To Leslie, indeed, quite a sight to behold. I get it. She's great. She gives it all and becomes this character and embodies this type of cursed American Southern alcoholic to an absolute T and then some. It gets ugly. This disease completely controls her, and it affects every aspect of her life and every familial relationship she has left after wasting her lottery money away. How she wasted it, might you ask? Well, we can assume it was from the boozing. But the film decides not to focus on that, but instead the consequences of her despicable yet tragic actions following her downfall into homelessness, lies, and temptation. And then comes along, Mark Maron? A slightly southern version of Mark Maron, for that matter, who may or may not help her turn her life around at some point, but you'll just have to see for yourself. To Leslie is, again, not a perfect movie, and not the most well-written, but it does pack an emotional punch and payoff through its slightly lengthy runtime. Most of the script, I do confess, is a bit basic and perhaps in line with most of the characters' vernacular wherewithal and intelligence, if you will, but in the end, it is an empathetic tale of redemption and forgiveness that may leave an impact on some, if not most. I also gotta say, that biker dude who plays opposite Allison Janney, that's Stephen Root. You know, Milton Stephen Root? Pan-shot Stephen Root? If anything, this film is worth seeing for Andrea's truly compelling title performance, despite how controversial her surprise nomination ended up being. I am going to give To Leslie a decent 3.75 out of 5. And finally, finishing out this video, I watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I went into this one not having saw the first Puss in Boots and being somewhat removed from the Shrek franchise after Shrek 2, and of course Shrek Fairy Tale Freakdown for the Game Boy Color. I mean, what a classic. So I came into this one knowing that it ended up being better than anyone else had even anticipated, and could give this year's animated feature category a run for its money, other than Pinocchio. And yeah, it was pretty good. Let me get this out of the way. Stylistically, it's great. The choices to seemingly meld different animation mediums and frame rates together are a very inspired one, and definitely makes it stand out in the grand scheme of these derivative 3D animated films as of late. Some of the action set pieces in this film are indeed breathtaking. I mean, the final showdown between Puss in Boots and Death, so sick. But they are somewhat more few and far between than what I was expecting, as the rest of the film for me was a bit more paint by the numbers. And not being familiar with the characters and the mythos of this spin-off universe didn't really help either. All in all, still a pretty good time. If I saw this as a kid, Death would absolutely live rent-free in my nightmares, dude. I mean, that red-eyed dog Goosebumps book cover gave me nightmares, so they're basically the same thing. So yeah, cool, GG, dude. Also, whoever designed this character, I'd like to just go over their house and just turn on all of their lights, so they just have to pay a little bit more this month in utilities, okay? Moving on. I'm going to give Puss in Boots: The Last Wish a solid 3.75 out of 5. And that's my roundup, y'all. Late season ceremonies will be kicking off very shortly, so stay tuned for my reactions, predictions, and all the fun stuff in the late season, y'all. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and bell. Thank you guys so much for watching, and Oscar Guy is out.